Stop making that face, my mother sneered, not even looking up from her phone. We sold that dusty coffin for $15,000 because Courtney needed a Tesla lease today. At least one of my daughters has a future worth investing in. I stood frozen in the living room, watching movers drag my grandmother's $120,000 Steinway out the door. Donna had just sold a family heirloom for pennies, just to look rich for an afternoon. I felt the heavy envelope in my bag, the power of attorney papers that proved she had just committed a felony. But I did not yell. I did not fight. I looked at the empty spot on the floor where the soul of this house used to be, turned around, and walked away without saying a word. My name is Cheryl, and I am 30 years old. If you looked at my tax returns, you would see that I am a senior asset valuator for one of the largest estate firms in the state. My job is to walk into a room full of old objects, look past the dust and the memories, and tell you exactly what your legacy is worth in cold, hard currency. I can spot a fake Tiffany lamp from across the room. I can tell you if that diamond is paste or platinum grade with a single glance. I understand value. My family, however, only understands price. I drove back to my apartment that afternoon with the windshield wipers fighting a losing battle against the rain. My apartment is small. It is a one-bedroom walk-up with creaky floors and a view of a brick wall. But I own it. I pay the mortgage. I pay the strata fees. Nobody can take it away from me. That is a luxury my parents, Donna and Gregory, have never understood. They live their lives on credit, leveraging tomorrow to pay for a flashy today. 3 years ago, my father, Gregory, lost his entire pension playing online poker. He did not tell my mother. He just stopped paying the property taxes on Grandma Caroline's estate, where they had been living rent-free for a decade. The county sent a foreclosure notice. It arrived on a Tuesday. I remember the date because I was the one who intercepted the mail. If Grandma had seen it, the stress would have killed her then and there. I did not scream at him. I did not expose him. I quietly drained my savings account. I wrote a check for $12,400 to the county treasurer to save the house. I drove a 10-year-old sedan with a broken heater for 2 winters so they could keep pretending they were wealthy. They never paid me back. They never even said thank you. They just assumed it was my duty, the rent I paid for existing in their orbit. Later that evening, I went back to the estate. I had to face them. I found them in the kitchen, the air thick with the smell of expensive perfume and denial. They were popping a bottle of Dom Perignon. My sister, Courtney, was sitting on the granite island, scrolling through her phone, looking bored. They were celebrating. They were drinking champagne to toast the $15,000 they had just stripped from my grandmother's legacy. It is gone already, Courtney whined, taking a sip of the wine. The lease down payment took almost all of it. I need money for insurance, Dad. You promised I could get the ceramic coating. My mother, Donna, sighed, refilling her glass. We will figure it out, sweetie. $15,000 does not go as far as it used to. We just need a bridge until the big payout. I stood in the doorway, feeling the cold rainwater soaking into my socks. The big payout. They were talking about Grandma dying. They were banking on it. Gregory slammed his hand on the counter. His face was flushed, the veins in his neck bulging. He looked desperate. I am not waiting for the probate courts, he snapped. I spoke to that developer again this morning. He is willing to do a cash deal. Off-market. $1.2 million for the land. He says he can have the paperwork ready in a week. My stomach turned over. $1.2 million was robbery. The estate was historic. The land alone was worth double that. But Gregory did not care about fair market value. He cared about speed. He cared about covering his gambling debts before the sharks came circling. I stepped into the light. You cannot sell the house, I said, my voice steady. Grandma is still alive. It is not yours to sell. They all turned to look at me like I was a stain on the rug. Gregory laughed, a harsh, barking sound. Look who it is. The conscience of the family. You really do not understand how the real world works, do you, Cheryl? It is called estate planning, Donna added, sneering over her glass. We are being proactive. But I suppose that is too complex for you. You are just a glorified pawnshop clerk. You count old spoons for a living. Leave the high finance to the adults. Courtney giggled. Yeah, Cheryl. Go appraise a teacup or something. We are talking about millions here. I looked at them. I looked at the champagne bought with stolen money. I looked at my father, willing to sell his mother's home for pennies on the dollar just to save his own skin. And in that moment, the sadness evaporated. It was replaced by the cold, hard clarity of an appraiser. I looked at my family, and I finally assessed their true value. 0. I went back to my car, but I did not turn the key. I sat there in the dark, listening to the rain drum against the roof, and I stopped crying. Crying is for people who think they can change the outcome by feeling bad about it. I am an asset valuator. I changed the outcome by looking at the documentation. I opened my laptop and tethered it to my phone. I did not need to hack anything. I simply logged into the county clerk's portal using my professional credentials. I pulled the property records for the estate. There it was, in black and white. The warranty deed. Owner of record, Caroline Eleanor Whitmore. No liens. No transfers. No co-signers. My grandmother owned every square inch of that dirt. Then I accessed the family trust database. I had set this up for Grandma 2 years ago when she first got sick. She had appointed me as the secondary trustee because, in her words, I was the only one who did not look at her checkbook like it was a lunch menu. I scrolled through the logs. I saw unauthorized login attempts from my father's internet protocol address. He had been trying to access the digital deed for weeks. He could not get in, so he was drafting a fraudulent for sale by owner contract. I knew this because I had seen the printed drafts sticking out of his briefcase in the kitchen. He was going to forge her signature. He was going to sell a house he did not own to a developer who asked no questions, take the cash, and vanish before the probate court even opened the file. I closed the laptop. My first instinct was to storm back in there, wave the papers in his face, and threaten to call the police. But then I stopped. I realized something that my job had taught me about human nature. When you want to stop a greedy man, you do not build a wall. He will just dig under it. You do not appeal to his conscience, because he does not have one. If you want to catch a predator, you do not chase him. You open a door, you show him a shortcut to exactly what he wants, and you let him run full speed through it. You do not need to push him off the cliff. You just need to grease the edge. My parents did not believe in love. They did not believe in loyalty. But they believed in the hustle. If I wanted them to walk into a trap, I had to stop acting like the moral compass they hated and start acting like the accomplice they needed. I checked my makeup in the rearview mirror. I wiped the rain from my cheeks. I put on my work face. The face I used when I had to tell a client their family heirlooms were worthless junk. Then, I got out of the car and walked back into the house. The champagne bottle was empty. Gregory was leaning against the counter, red-faced and boisterous. Donna was scrolling through Zillow, looking at penthouses. "You are back," Donna said, not bothering to hide her disappointment. "Come to beg for gas money?" I walked right up to Gregory. I picked up the bottle of Dom Perignon, looked at the label, and set it down with a clatter. "You are being an idiot," I said. The room went silent. Courtney gasped. Gregory's eyes narrowed. "Excuse me?" "Selling to a developer," I said, keeping my voice bored. "You are going to get ripped off. I know the developer you are talking to. He flips distressed assets. He will offer you $1.2 million, drag out the inspection for 60 days, find termite damage, and knock the price down to $800,000 at the last minute. He knows you are desperate. He smells the blood in the water." Gregory stared at me. He knew I was right. That was exactly how these deals went. "So what?" he snapped. "It is fast cash. We need the money now." I leaned against the counter and crossed my arms. "Or," I said, "you could do it smart. I have a client." Donna looked up. "What kind of client?" "A tech chief executive officer from California," I lied smoothly. "He is looking for a historic estate in this exact zip code. He has more money than sense. He buys sight unseen. No inspections. No contingencies. He wants to close in 48 hours because he needs to park some capital before the quarter ends." Gregory's greed was practically vibrating off him. "How much?" $1.5 million, I said. "Cash." I watched the number hit them. 1.5 million. That was $300,000 more than the developer. That was freedom. That was a new life. "Call him," Gregory said, his voice shaking. "Call him right now." I did not move. "There is a catch," I said. "Of course there is," Donna spat. "You want to sabotage it." "No," I said. "I want a cut." They froze. They looked at me like they had never seen me before. "I want a 10% commission," I said, keeping my voice cold. "That is $150,000. Off the books. In cash. You get your 1.35 million, which is still more than the developer would give you. I get my fee for setting it up. And I walk away. I am done with this family. I am done bailing you out. I want my payday." I held my breath. This was the gamble. If they thought I was trying to save Grandma, they would shut me out. But if they thought I was finally, truly one of them, greedy, selfish, and transactional, they would let me in. Gregory looked at Donna. Then he looked at me. A slow, ugly smile spread across his face. "Finally," he said. "Finally, you wised up. I always knew you had a little bit of me in you, Cheryl. You just needed the right motivation." Donna poured the last dregs of champagne into a glass and slid it toward me. $150,000, she said. Deal. But if you screw this up, you get nothing. I picked up the glass. I did not drink it. Deal, I said. Get your suits ready. The buyer wants to sign tomorrow. I walked out of the kitchen with the taste of bile in my throat. They trusted me. They trusted me completely. Not because I was their daughter, but because I had convinced them I was a thief. And tomorrow, I was going to prove them right. The closing was scheduled for 10 o'clock the next morning at a law firm downtown. I chose the venue carefully. It was a firm that specialized in high-stakes corporate mergers, glass walls, marble floors, and air conditioning set cold enough to keep you awake. It was a place designed to make people feel important. And my parents loved feeling important almost as much as they loved spending money they did not have. They arrived 15 minutes early. Donna was wearing her vintage Chanel suit, the one she had bought 20 years ago when my father still had a career. She had paired it with a string of pearls that I knew for a fact were paste, though she swore they were Mikimoto. Gregory was wearing his navy blazer with the gold buttons, his hair slicked back, looking every inch the country club gentleman he pretended to be. Courtney trailed behind them, texting, already looking bored with the process of becoming rich. They barely looked at me. I was sitting at the far end of the mahogany conference table, organizing a stack of folders. To them, I was just the help. I was the fixer. I was the one who handled the boring details so they could get to the champagne. Get me a water, Cheryl, Gregory said as he sat down, loosening his tie. And make sure the buyer knows we are on a tight schedule. I have a tea time at 2. I stood up and walked to the sidebar. I poured him a glass of water. I did not spit in it, though the thought crossed my mind. I set it down in front of him on a coaster. He is on his way, I said. At 10 sharp, the door opened. Mr. Henderson walked in. I had briefed him thoroughly. To my parents, he was the representative for a reclusive tech billionaire. In reality, he was a senior forensic investigator for the state's elder abuse unit. And he had been building a case file on my father's gambling debts for 6 months. He was just waiting for a felony to stick. Today, my parents were going to hand-deliver it to him. Mr. Henderson set a leather briefcase on the table. He did not smile. He did not offer handshakes. He projected the kind of icy professionalism that screams money. My client is eager to conclude this transaction, he said, opening the briefcase. He removed a cashier's check. I watched my father's eyes lock onto that piece of paper. It was made out for $1.5 million. It was a prop, of course, drafted by the district attorney's office for this sting. But Gregory did not know that. He just saw his salvation. He saw the gambling debts disappearing. He saw the country club dues being paid. He saw the lie becoming truth. Mr. Henderson laid out 2 documents in front of my parents. First, he said, tapping a thick stack of paper, the warranty deed. By signing this, you are swearing under penalty of perjury that you hold clear and marketable title to the property, and that you have the legal authority to sell it. Gregory reached for a pen immediately. No problem, he said. Standard stuff. Mr. Henderson held up a hand. And second, the occupancy waiver. My client requires immediate possession. Since this is a cash deal with no inspection, he needs you to certify that you are not tenants. You have no lease. And you waive all rights to notice before vacating. You hand over the keys today. This was the kill shot. If they were tenants, which they technically were under the law, evicting them would take months, but if they signed this waiver to get the fast cash, they were legally declaring themselves guests. Guests can be removed for trespassing in 20 minutes. Then Donna grabbed my arm, nails digging in. Cheryl, please, tell him it was a mistake. We're your parents. You can't let us go to prison. I looked at her hand, the same hand that had punished me for being inconvenient, and peeled her fingers off my skin. I can't stop what you already signed, I said. But I can do one thing. I picked up the occupancy waiver. You were worried about packing, I said evenly. Good news, you don't have to. You certified you're not tenants. You waived an eviction hearing. You declared your guests who must leave immediately. I checked my watch. You're not tenants. You're not owners. That makes you trespassers. And I have an emergency protective order barring you from the estate to protect Grandma's assets. I slid the order across the table. You have 2 choices, I said. Wait here and be handcuffed in front of the lobby staff or leave right now. If you're gone before police reach the house, I'll tell them you vacated voluntarily. It might help you when the indictment lands. Donna's voice broke. We have nowhere to go. I didn't blink. You have the Mercedes. It has heated seats. Henderson glanced at his watch. 5 minutes. That finally shattered them. Gregory snatched his blazer and rushed out. Donna stood shaking, clutching her fake pearls, staring at me like she expected the old daughter the fixer to appear and save her. I only pointed at the door. She fled. Later, on the porch of the estate, I watched them arrive in the driveway and discover the locks had already been changed. Donna yanked the handle, mascara streaking. Gregory paced beside the Mercedes, frantic into his phone. "Cheryl!" Donna screamed when she saw me. "Open the door. We live here." "You don't," I said calmly. "You signed a paper saying you don't. You're trespassing. Where are we supposed to go?" she wailed. "We have no clothes. No money. We're your family. How can you leave us like this?" I nodded toward the silver car, glinting in the rain. "You're not homeless. You have the Mercedes. Sleep in it before the repo man finds it." Sirens grew louder. Gregory's head snapped up. Without a word, he dove into the driver's seat. Donna scrambled in beside him. Tires shrieked as they ran one last time from consequences. An hour later, I went to the hospital. Grandma Caroline was still there, fighting. I took her hand. "It's done," I whispered. "The house is safe. They're gone." That night, I sat in the quiet, clean living room and opened my laptop not to check updates, not to chase their panic, but to buy myself something I'd wanted for years. A piano. Not a Steinway. A Yamaha. Bright. Modern. Mine. If you think they got exactly what they deserved, hit like and tell me in the comments. What's the most expensive thing a family member has ever cost you?